about research questions. Can someone give me an example of a research question that they wrote down for homework last night? Elizabeth.
How does the number of cookies I eat affect the number of hours of sleep I get?
Very good, right? So in the format we have, how does one thing affect another thing, right? So in this case, you're using cookies, and you're seeing how they affect the number of hours of sleep that you get, or how good your sleep is, or something like that. So scientists actually use these two different parts of your research question, and they define them using variables. Does anyone know what a variable is, or have you heard it before? Elizabeth?
Something that you measure.
Right, yeah. So let's say in our experiment, what are we measuring in the research question that Elizabeth brought up? We're measuring what? How many cookies we ate, right? So let's say our independent variable in this case is going to be what?
The number of cookies.
Yeah, right? Or just the cookies, right? So we can split up our variables into two, right? Independent and dependent. We just defined our independent variable, which is cookies. So we can change how many cookies we eat for dinner, for example, right? So let's say we eat, I don't know, 10 cookies, and then Rubo ate 2 cookies, and I ate, I don't know, 50 cookies, right? Something like that. And so in a research question, we're asking how does the number of cookies that we ate for dinner affect our sleep? And then sleep is going to be our dependent variable. Okay? So the number of hours that we sleep is going to be, I don't know, let's say we ate 10 cookies. How much sleep do you think you're going to get? Just shout something out.
7 hours.
7 hours, right? We ate 2 cookies. How much sleep are we going to get?
2 hours.
2 hours, right? And then now I ate 50 cookies, so now I'm going to get how much sleep? Like 20 hours, whatever, right? So that's something that we're going to measure. So now let's go back and formally define what our variables are. So can someone read the definition for independent variable? Yeah.
What we manipulate in our experiment.
Right? So we ate cookies for dinner. We know that, right? But in our experiment, let's say we want to manipulate how many of those cookies we ate. So we have one person eating 10 cookies, the next person eating 2 cookies, and the third person eating 50 cookies, right? So then we're going to measure our dependent variable, which is sleep, and see how much sleep each person gets when they eat a different amount of cookies. So let's say, or actually Elizabeth, can you read the dependent variable definition?
What we measure.
Right, and so that's what changes as a result of changing our independent variable. So if you guys could just take a second to write down in your notes what these definitions are. Awesome, very good. Okay, so now we're going to do an exercise. I want you guys to break off into partners, so Rubo and Elizabeth, you'll be together. And I want you to read this research question and tell me what the independent variable is and what the dependent variable is. So talk amongst yourselves, and then after you're finished, one of you guys, or both of you guys are going to come up and just write down the board which one was the IV and which one was the DV. Yeah, so take like 20 seconds or so to do that.
Number of hours is the independent variable.
Alright, are you guys ready? Yeah. Cool. So actually before you guys do that, I want to make sure that my research question is in the right format. So what is the key word here that we learned yesterday? Right? So one thing is affecting the other thing. Okay. So who wants to do the independent variable? Okay. And who wants to do the dependent variable? Come on, you can do it. Awesome. Great. So can you guys just read out loud to us for class? Well, you did the IV, right? So can you just read out loud what the IV is?
The number of hours I study.
Very good. And Elizabeth, can you read what the DV is?
Grades.
Great. So the number of hours that you study, let's say in the library in this case, is affecting your grades, right? Let's say you went back in time and tried, let's say we got it wrong, we said that this was my independent variable. Does your grade that you got for this test go back and affect how much you studied? But that doesn't really make sense, right? So it only goes one way. So we go from the IV to the DV, and we can't go back the other way. Work with the same material that we did during class. So sometimes, or actually always, people abbreviate the independent variable as IV. And you should write this down as well. So IV is something that I change, right? So you can see how there's an I and an I. The dependent variable, which we're going to abbreviate as DV, right, is something that depends. In this case, we're just going to depend, but it depends on what I change in my independent variable. And if you look back to our examples, you see the same thing. So it depends on what I change. So for our chant, what I want you guys to do is repeat after me, right? So IV
IV
is I change.
is I change.
So when I say IV, you say
I change.
IV,
I change.
IV.
I change.
Awesome. We're doing the same thing then for dependent variable, right? So when I say dv, you say depends on,
Depend on.
right? So dv
Depend on.